Mic check. Hi, friends. It's me, host Eric, host of the internet television program called Talking with Famous People. And I'm doing something I haven't done in a long time. I'm webcam streaming. You might say I'm feeling a little lazy, I guess, to not set up the software. But you might also say instead that I'm too annoyed to set up the software or too frustrated to set it up. I don't have the SE to devote to that right now. Why? Because my most painful allergy has been bothering me for days. I cannot stand it when there's unresolved conflict. Conflict has to resolve. It has to resolve. It has to resolve according to the right metric. And that's it. And like right now, I've got this unresolved conflict with Rachel's dad / family / brother. And it's pissing me off. I wake up mad, I toss and turn all night. Because why do we have unresolved conflict? A lack of honesty. That's the reason why, you know? Well, Rachel's dad called me the other night and said, I want you to stop slandering my family. What he meant to say, if he had been honest and not a big fucking liar, is please stop telling the truth about my family. It embarrasses me. That's all he has to say to me. I take down whatever he wants me to take down. Instead, he lies, you know? Or he uses words like an ENFP, which is basically the same fucking thing. Oh, well, it's slander because I don't like the way it makes me feel. Fuck you. It's not slander because it's the truth. Yeah, closure is really important. Closure is incredibly important to me. You know, it's like there seems to be a lot of people in the world who get by just shoveling stuff under the rug. I can't stand that. It drives me insane. Like, you know, Rachel's brother needs to have his dish of humble pie. He needs to be held accountable. He needs to apologize. He needs to actually have a conversation with me rather than continually running and scuttling like a little cockroach. That's all there is to it. And, you know, Rachel's dad's trying to sort of get in the way and be a peacemaker of allowing peace to grow in the absence of active conflict. No justice, no peace. Right? I mean, no justice, no peace is a saying for a reason. You can't, you know, victimizers can't expect peace without being held accountable. And that's just fucking basic rule number one of life. You know, so it's like I really want to talk to her dad this morning. You know, it's like I would call him right now, except I do have his number on my phone, but Rachel's asleep and I can never remember the password to her phone. It's like it's some combination of 3s, 6s, and 9s. So, you know, it's like how is the family supposed to? He's like, you know, help heal his family. Well, how is the family supposed to heal when this sociopathic brother has gotten away with everything? You know, how's Rachel supposed to heal knowing that there's no justice? That everyone's gonna just pretend it didn't happen, you know? And the thing is this, as far as I'm concerned, I've got 2 rules that I need every human being to follow when talking to me in any way, shape, or form about anything. Rule number 1 is answer my questions directly. I don't want to answer that, or I won't answer that, is fine. That's a direct answer. Okay? But answer my questions directly. Don't try to avoid them. Don't try to equivocate. Don't try to dissemble. Answer them directly. And number 2, don't lie to me. Those are the 2 rules for anybody having any conversation with me about anything ever. Answer my questions directly. Do not try to avoid them, shift ground, dissemble, equivocate, or any other bullshit, because you're never going to get it past me in a million fucking years. And it's just going to piss me off. And number 2, don't lie to me. That's it. It's that simple. And we won't ever have any problems. Like, people want to avoid answering my questions because answering my questions means that the correct frame of reference will be used. You know? The correct frame of reference will be used if you answer my questions. The wrong frame of reference will be used when you successfully equivocate, dissemble, or avoid. Hi, MJ. Good morning to you, too. Now, here's the thing. I was asked to steel man Rachel's dad's case in order to make sure that I'm being just here. Here's the thing about that. I steel man this way before I ever do anything, you know? It's like, why did I take the approach I took of texting Anthony a very gentle text at a wedding during a time not involving the wedding time? Why didn't I confront him directly? Blah, 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 blah. Well, because I gave him plenty of time to act on his own, so he couldn't accuse me of not giving him a chance. I gave him plenty of time to deal with it in private, so he couldn't accuse me of going public right away. I chose not to make a scene at somebody else's wedding because that would be a bad approach. In other words, I took the only approach left available to me. And when instead of taking advantage of this incredibly generous and gentle offer to make peace by taking accountability, he tries to use his bullshit methods on me. Okay, well, now we know where the disease is and where to pour the chemotherapy. You know, it's like, and dad needs to be on the same page with me about that. Instead, he calls me and tries to leverage his own relationship with his own daughter to get me to take down the video, when all he needed to do was ask me. If he had said, I don't like the way you telling the truth about my family makes me feel, can you please take down the video? I would have taken it down in a second. Instead, like a fucking moron, he tries to force me. He tries to leverage me. When people ask me to take down videos, I always take them down. Don't try to force me to do something that I'm willing to do without being forced. But you have to be honest and humble. You can't lie to me. You can't say that I'm slandering your family when I'm telling the truth. She's sleeping. I can't sleep because I'm mad, you know? I wake up mad because there's no resolution to this. I want fucking resolution. It's like, I hate unresolved conflict. That is my most painful allergy. Oh, it was fucking comically horrible. We had a baby behind us screaming the whole time and a baby on the other side of the aisle of us screaming the whole time. Plus, these people that were sitting, this guy sitting next to us and this other woman, they were having the most banal conversation, so loud. And I mean, like, okay, this is how this conversation between this guy and this lady went. The guy had on some nail polish. And they said, I like your nail polish. What color is it? It's gold. Oh, it looks silver to me. Well, it's gold. Sure looks silver, though. Yeah, it kind of looks silver, but it's gold. And this went on for like 10 fucking minutes. I shit you not. I shit you not. And then here's a problem I have with airports, airplanes, and etc. Yeah, Jeremiah Fix, me. If you don't want to hear about me complaining about my problems, go away, for fuck's sake. That's obviously what I'm going to be doing. You know, don't condemn me for being me. Yeah, I'm a selfish, complainy, whiny, whatever. So if you don't want to hear it, don't hear it. It's like this shit, right? You know, it's like don't misrepresent shit. If you want to say, I don't like this topic you're talking about, then just say that. Oh, everyone on an airplane. You know, what's interesting about airplanes is they intentionally make them not quiet. You know how it's kind of, there's a huge amount of background noise on an airplane? They could make the airplane quiet easily, but it turns out people are much prefer all that white noise to the sound of a bunch of people on an airplane. So, I found that interesting when I learned about that. Yeah. I'm fussy because there's unresolved conflict. On Sunday night, I was live streaming, explaining how my efforts to get accountability out of Rachel's brother had stalled out and what I was going to do next. And I got a call from Rachel's dad. First a text, then a call with him demanding that I take down the video on the grounds that I had done something wrong and threatening me to take down the video rather than asking me humbly like he should have. And that's never going to work with me. You're never going to force me to do the wrong thing. The wrong thing to do is to help them keep this private. But you might be able to ask me and get me to do the wrong thing because I do have as an absolute value FI. Yeah. I call them the devil's favorite plaything. They do the devil's work by compromising their way into nightmarishly awful situations. Well, I do take everything personally. Rachel and I are a team. So when Anthony's brother tries to schmooze me instead of apologizing to his sister like he should, I take it personally. Okay, well, in that video, any sane person would have drawn that conclusion given all of the facts. Rain, so no, that's a terrible example. In fact, the fact that my NI was wrong there is fine, but I drew the correct NI. I drew the correct. His comment was me, as I'm talking about me. So why shouldn't I draw that conclusion? And if I'm wrong about drawing a conclusion that's a reasonable conclusion to draw, then fine, I'll be corrected and correct myself. No big deal. I'm not afraid of accountability. I'm not going to avoid jumping to the correct conclusion just because it turns out to be the incorrect. I mean, otherwise you'd never have any conclusions. So yeah, if I have good reason to take something personally, I'll take it personally. If I try not to be wrong, then fine, I'll be corrected and I'll apologize and sorry, Jeremiah, I misunderstood your comment. My bad. That's how it works. That's how healthy people behave. I was thinking about making a video called you but broken. That's how everybody thinks about all the three same letters except for the T and F. You but broken. So INFJs think of INTJs as they're just like me but broken. ENTPs think of ENFPs as they're just like me but broken. ENFPs think of ENTPs as they're just like me, but broken. Yeah, for the rest of my life and Rachel's, I will live stream about my life. Out loud, online, and comfortable. That's how I roll. Because I'm not lying. That's why. I'm not worried about my secrets being exposed. I don't have a bunch of secrets to be exposed, right? I don't have a bunch of wickedness that I've shoveled under rugs. I don't have skeletons in closets. Well, yeah, it is. Well, I mean, yes. Another way to express exactly the same thing I said, Rain, is your tool and polar, but with the same dominant function, right? No, you have to have the same dominant function, but opposite polars. So, for example, ESTP would think ESFP is just like them, but broken. Whereas I just think ESFP is broken. I think they're not at all like me and broken. Well, I'm saying with the letters, I think it works out as like ISTP, ISFP. No, it doesn't. You're right. No, Rain, you're right. You're right. My rule of thumb was wrong. That rule of thumb doesn't work. You have to do it the way you said. My bad. You're right. I hadn't thought that rule of thumb through for far enough. What I should have said is, if you have the same dominant function, but the other kind of tool function. So, your dominant function mate that's not the same type as you. That's what I mean. Because it's like you can see what I mean about how he comes in and says, "You need to stop slandering my family." He's talking with his second function. That's how it feels to him, right? It feels like I'm slandering his family. And I'm talking with my second function. Slander would mean that I'm lying, but I'm telling the truth about you. So it's like we both think we're the other one's broken. Don't you get it, Eric? I'm just telling you my feelings. Well, don't you get it? Words mean things. What's the opposite of a benefactor beneficiary thing? I don't know if it has an opposite exactly. I don't know how to answer that question. But I will tell you that I'm of the mindset that benefactor beneficiary is, in some sense, the most resentment laden of the relationships, because it's like the person you least want to be corrected by is your benefactor. And Anthony, Rachel's brother, is my beneficiary type. He's an ENFJ. And so it's like his worst nightmare is for me specifically to hold him to account. But that's what needs to happen. Just like I don't like getting busted by ESTJs. But they do it all the time anyway. Like, it's like the benefactor type is especially well equipped to bust the chops. Yeah, I'm very confident he's an ENFJ after meeting him. Yeah, but the supervisor-supervisee relationship is much more friendly than the benefactor-beneficiary relationship. The supervisee feels the gap more dramatically than the supervisor, who keeps thinking, this guy's basically on the right page. He's just lacking a thing or two, right? And the supervisee feels like, oh shit, this person can really supervise me, but they never really get that busted by him. But benefactor beneficiary, the benefactor is always one step ahead of you, no matter how hard you try. And it's really frustrating. It's like my dad's always a step ahead of me somehow as an ESTJ. I'm just about to go put this thing back that I borrowed from him, and he one step ahead of me to come yell at me for not putting it back yet. It happens all the time. Shit like that happens all the time. It's so frustrating. So I get that Anthony is naturally, typologically, going to be especially avoidant of being held to account by me, as an ENTP is his benefactor type. But nevertheless, that's what needs to happen. You know, I'm not going to sleep well until it does. Or until I once again turn my attention to something else and forget about it for a stretch of time or something, you know? It's the sixth slot function. It's because sixth slot is better than eighth in terms of interacting with the world. So it's like, right, I benefit ENFJ because you give them TI, but they have no SI in return. This is critically important. So from Anthony's perspective, the past is the past. We just need to let it go, right? From my fourth slot SI perspective, there's only one way for me to rest, and that's to get that back in equilibrium, you know, to render the past properly meowed, so that the future can proceed forward normally and naturally. So yeah, that's going to be a problem. But the thing is, the fact that his toxicity has expressed, has maximally expressed because of his polar, makes him just the same as every other toxic person. It's just his polar happens to be SI. ENTP is to ESTJ as INTP is to INFJ. It would be third is sixth. No, wait, third is dominant is third, and six is dominant. So if the INTP's sixth life function is NI, that'd be dominant NI, and then the dominant of the INTP, yeah, right, INFJ, yes, correct. That is correct. Yeah, MJ, and it's weird because it's like Rachel deals better with this, with her own past, than I ever could. You know, I could never deal so gracefully with a past like that as she does. In other words, when she and I started going out, it was not important to her right away that I be on the same page with her about all of this stuff. She was comfortable allowing me to draw my own conclusions and not compelling me to agree with her and be on the same page. I would have required her to agree with me and be on the same page before she had good reason to, based on my words. But because she's NI, not SI, she deals with it much more gracefully than I do. She's not carrying around this constant revisiting of an unpleasantness, you know? And so it's like, I'm the one who can't sleep, not her. She's been dealing with this for years, right? So it's like, this is nothing new to her. This is just how her fucked up family does fucked up shit, you know? It's new to me, and it's not acceptable. But the other thing is this. I remember what happened when I ran afoul of the narcissist in Kimberly's family. The narcissist won, and they totally excommunicated her. I don't want to do that to Rachel. You know, the thing is, it was good for Kimberly because those people were so toxic that any interaction with them was bad, basically. But it's not the same way with Rachel's family. Rachel's mom and Rachel's dad both want to have Rachel in their life and want to be a family of some sort, you know? But the thing is, what Mike needs to remember is he sees this as me interfering with his family. I see this as me fixing our family. And, you know, it's like, if you're going to be part of my family, you're going to be held to a higher standard than that. You know, it's like, you can't be mean and you can't be dishonest in my family. That's it. Yeah, I'm really bad at that, Ma'am Jay. Your wisdom is undeniable, okay? I am not denying in any spec the wisdom of your words here, okay? You are speaking very wise words. And I understand that I am imposing a TI understanding of justice and rejecting other definitions of justice. But the thing is, that's what Rachel really needs. It's her third slot, you know? She's not bothered so much by revisiting the impressions of pain from the past as she is by the knowledge of the persistent unfairness. So, well, I mean, I just think that the ENFP dad was basically bullied into an endless succession of compromises by an ESTJ and an ENFJ. The ESTJ's 6-slot SE is going to play out very much the same way as my dad's 6-slot SE plays out with me. So her dad's going to feel like a step behind all the time, kind of. And I don't know. I need a bong rip. And Sean, I agree with you a lot that there's a lot to be said about the role of Enneagram with the 7, 8, 9 here. You know, I used to think Rachel was a 1, maybe. She's a 9 for sure. I'm quite confident about that. My conversation with Peter didn't teach you and stuff, and the test that he gave us, which, again, I want to stress, in case Peter didn't teach you watching this, I accidentally deleted that video. I did not publish it on purpose. Okay? Stressed ENFPs equal compulsive liars. Valid. Stressed ENFPs equals reluctant liars, I think is more accurate. Stressed ESFP equals compulsive liar. Unstressed ESFP equals compulsive liar. I'm feeling better, though. I need to come talk it out. I need to hear MJ tell me to be patient. You know, I need to hear Sean help me talk about this in terms of Enneagram. This stuff makes me feel better. It makes me feel heard and not just rolling around in bed mad, you know? Well, Winston's mom, that's what I'm saying. I gave the parties involved ample time to deal with this in private and ample opportunity to deal with this in private. If you watched the video the other night, you'll hear the succession of avoidances that Rachel's brother has engaged in from the very get-go. The first time I ever encountered Rachel's brother, he called her. She and I were sitting at Moffat's Chicken Pot Pie, and he said he's very worried about this guy that she's with. And she said, well, he's right here. He'd be happy to talk with you. Already, this is the very first time I ever even learned of his existence. He refused to talk to me. So it's like, I agree with you. It wouldn't be good if Delilah brought home a boyfriend who insisted I apologize to her for any past misdeeds. I'd say, well, which ones haven't I apologized for yet? I have apologized for all my past misdeeds. So I wouldn't have any problem with that. I would say, why? Has Delilah expressed to you that I've not been a perfect father in some way? I haven't. I'll take full accountability for those instances and apologize again if you'd like me to. I'm curious what brought this on. We have a full and comprehensive and a conversation about it. The thing is, I don't expect to hold them to that level of accountability. I don't require them to be accountable publicly. It's their refusal to be accountable privately that forces me to go public. Because why? Because I'm upset. I'm not comfortable with this state of non-resolution. I'm not comfortable with being angry all the time. I don't like it. Well, that's not a very noble reason to seek justice for Rachel, Eric. That's true, but it's my reason right now. The state of injustice makes me mad. That's why I'm doing it. Is it really for Rachel? I don't know, but I know I'm pissed on her behalf, or just pissed in general because of the injustice existing, and it needs to go away. And the only way to make it go away is to resolve it, and the only way to resolve it is to be honest, to stop lying and hiding shit and running away. But I think it's FI 7th that you're seeing right now. FI is an absolute value for me. And when it comes down to it, my feelings matter a lot. It's like, I don't like feeling this way, and you're making me feel this way, so here's my foot up your ass. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. There's nothing more complicated. It's their fault I feel this way because they're the wrongdoers. And they, therefore, need to be held to account. That way, I won't feel bad anymore. Simple as that. Not really. I'm not seeking harmony. I'm doing the opposite of seeking bullshit, right? I'm a bullshit hunter. I hate it. I hate bullshit. I light it on fire. It makes the whole room stink maybe, but at least the bullshit's on fire. I don't seek the good so much as I do hate the evil. It's easy to hate evil because you can easily identify it. It's hard to seek the good because it's subjective. I mean, the thing is, I very much try to walk a righteous path, but I have no more absolute clarity or insight into what the best action, positive action to take is than anybody else does. But I have exactly as much clarity about what's wrong as everybody else should, because that's easy. That's not difficult to do. MJ, boom, right on the nose. I think you became increasingly angry as you saw they had plenty of opportunity but chose to again and again act as though it's a non-issue. Exactly. And I tried plenty of times to do this gently, right? And instead of working with me, they're working against me. I thought I was done saying this when I finished my relationship with Kimberly. But once again, I find somebody to have to say this to. I have to say this to Rachel's father. Don't work against me, work with me. When you work with me, all good things happen. When you work against me, you send yourself into your own hell of tears and gnashing of teeth, and it's a sort of other sufferings. And you choose that because you're not working with me. You're working against me, and that makes me more and more mad. What happened, Han? I'll tell you, Splash. I got mad. That's what happened. Boba Fett, you totally won that answer contest. The correct answer to Han Splash's question, what happened, is a guy from mainland China jumped into a pool. That's absolutely the single correct answer to that question. Oh, I didn't try to start it during a wedding. When's his mom? I tried to start this conversation 2 years ago. It's just the wedding was the first opportunity I had to actually have any opportunity to have a chance to put any pressure on Anthony at all. Because, like I said, until that wedding, when he shook my hand extra hard and looked me right in the eye and said, "Hello, nice to meet you," he had refused to speak a single word to me, despite many, 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 many attempts on my part to talk to him. So my timing was fine. There was nothing wrong with my timing at all. And in fact, I showed incredible discretion in approaching it the way I did, rather than making a scene. Show us their pics. Why? The thing is, I don't like leveraging people. I don't like using leverage. So one thing that you're not going to, why do I care about his opinion? He's Rachel's father, and I'm trying to make a healthy family. Let me change the wording of that. I exist in a healthy family, and all my family members are healthy, non-toxic people. Now, because I've more or less married Rachel, might as well consider it married. As far as I'm concerned, we're married. That makes her dad, brother, sister, mom part of my family. And they then need to behave accordingly. They can no longer be toxic. That's not permitted in my family. Lying's not allowed. Well, the thing is, I don't want to leverage publicity against them. That was never my point. I'm just talking about my shit as I always do. I don't believe it's right for me to say, if you don't meow, I will go public with meow. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in leveraging people like that. It doesn't mean I will absolutely never do it, but I basically don't think I ever have, that I can really recall. I mean, it's like, what I want to say to Rachel's brother looks like who can I think of that he looks like? A famous person that he looks like. He looks kind of like, I don't know what the actor's name is, but he looks like, you could cast him in a gangster film probably. He looks like a squad Italian guy, He looks like a kind of squad Italian guy. I don't know what else to say about it. He's not remarkable looking, really, in any way. His looks are irrelevant, is the point. What he looks like is irrelevant. That's my point. Well, I don't want to win a zero-sum contest, right? Like, I win, you lose. I want to attain agreement with the other people that they were wrong, so that we are no longer on different pages. So it's a win-win situation. Justice is attained, and they gain the right. They gain being correct. Yeah, MJ, I know. Well, I was very mad at myself after that conversation because his ENFP-ness immediately made me enraged because he's not using words to mean things that they mean, right? He's using words to try to convey his feelings or something. And of course, that immediately enrages me. And that makes it very difficult for me to have a productive conversation with him. And, you know, I need to work on that. I need to work on that. It's like I definitely have an 8 in my Enneagram type, and certain things set it off, and then I'm just screaming. And at that point, there's nothing good is going to happen. I'm just screaming at the other person, and nothing good is going to happen as a consequence. So you're right again, MJ. I acknowledge your correctness. I'll try to do better. Okay, well, hand splash. I'm older than you, and I think you're full of shit. So why don't you just agree with me, even if you don't think I'm right? How about that? I mean, that's how abuse and toxicity gets perpetuated, is by not addressing it. So the fact that he's older than me doesn't mean he's more correct. Right, he's going to be included in my family. The head of the family is the one who's the most righteous, not the oldest. I'm clearly the most righteous person in this family, so I'm the head of the family. As far as I'm concerned, if he wanted to be the head of the family, he would need to act like it. He'd need to have protected his daughter. He didn't, and he must be held accountable for it as a consequence. That's it. The thing is, I know what it's like to be a good father because I was one. I would never, ever allow anybody to treat Delilah as he allowed, at least, Rachel to be treated. So, sorry, some things are right and wrong, and that's much more important than heuristics like age. If you think heuristics like age are more important, well, you're just a contributor to the problem. I mean, you've got to crush toxicity wherever you see it. You've got to smash it underneath the heel of your boot and walk the righteous path. That's all there is to it. If you want to be wicked, then go ahead and take your approach, Han. Somebody said in the comments on one of those videos that ENTP is a crusader type. I've never considered myself a crusader, but I recognize myself in that term a little bit. I do have it's like, well, you can watch the replay, Han. I'm not going to repeat myself. I mean, why should anybody have to provide any explanation about why that would trigger them? Does it need any explanation? It's not triggering me. That would imply that somehow there's some emotional linkage I have to something that triggers or something. No, it's objectively incredibly fucked up. There's nothing else to say about it. This drink is coffee with lots of non-dairy creamer in it. My favorite kind of coffee. You know, I didn't even think about the SI part of it until she mentioned how it bothered her that she would go in at the end of those days all sunburned and like nobody would notice or acknowledge anything. You know, heads need to roll. Yeah, there's no buttons that people push in mine. People. And by the way, why has Dana been so hostile lately? Because she's an ISTJ who wants to be an INFP. I mean, the platinum rule's fine, Han. Treat people how they want to be treated, but it's still subject to reciprocal burdens. So if he had treated Rachel how she wanted to be treated, then he would have good claim to expect reciprocity. He did not do that. So he has no claim to reciprocity. It's very simple. If we treated everybody how they wanted to be treated all the time, then all the people in North Korea would be living ideal, righteous lives by being enslaved by Kim Jong-un. How's the Cloudy Day song coming along? I haven't made any further progress on it, but that's because since I last worked on it, I basically have been doing stuff to get ready to go to Indianapolis or go to Indianapolis or come back from Indianapolis, you know? So I'll work on it again this week. This is actually a sleepy week for me right now, but I don't feel like sleepy at all because I have my emotions roiled up. I don't like having my emotions roiled up. Well, he doesn't not acknowledge me. That's not the problem. The problem isn't a lack of acknowledgement or something of me. The problem is he's trying to sweep under the rug shit that needs to be brought out from under the rug and the guilty parties be held accountable for. That's how things heal. He talked to me about be a healer, not a hero. This is how I heal things. We heal things by taking off the coverings and scraping out all the dead and gangrenous flesh. And that is a painful process, but it's necessary to heal. You cannot heal while leaving dead and gangrenous flesh inside of a wound. What's another word for roiled? Churned, all churned up. Or what's another word for that? Well, I think he's trying to play both sides. He's trying to protect his son and or go along with his son's wishes and make, He's trying to have peace without justice. That's what it boils down to. But the reason the expression no peace, no justice exists is because people who have been treated unjustly don't get to experience peace that the people who are getting away with injustice do. Right? I'm not experiencing peace. When inequities go unresolved, I experience ongoing disruption of peace. I experience being upset. She was gorgeous. Rachel's always gorgeous, and you know this is what happened at the reception too. She was up dancing with her cousins and looked like she was having a great time. And I was sitting at the table, and somebody said, "Why don't you go dance with her or something?" And I said, "I just really want to just sit here and watch her be happy. It makes me so happy, you know, to watch Rachel enjoy herself and be happy." And that's all I wanted from the experience, really, you know. Hand splash, boy, you are one dumb motherfucker. Yeah, well, you gotta have bong riffs, obviously, and that's central to this whole thing too. Remember that this huge campaign against Rachel was all centered around marijuana. It was like because Rachel smokes pot, we can do whatever we want to her, even though the other family members also smoke pot. But because some therapist or something told them that people with mental illness shouldn't smoke marijuana, they used that to run this campaign of ontological violence against her for a decade. They were completely wrong about it, as is evidenced by the fact that she's the world's biggest stoner now and perfectly mentally well. And the fact that I'm the world's biggest stoner and have been for fucking 30 whatever years, and I'm fine. So it's like they need to go, oh shit, we were both incredibly wrong, incredibly hypocritical, and using our hypocritical wrongness to harm our beautiful, perfect, wonderful daughter. That's what they need to say. And that's what they need to come to terms with. Maybe I should have. We got in one of our Lyft rides that we took because we didn't rent a car. We just took Lyft and we rode these scooters that they had there. No, they only played one slow dance song. By the time it got around to slow dance time, Rachel and I think we're both ready to go. It you know, 5 hours is about as much wedding as I can handle. That's, you know, how much when you're not drinking. I'm not a drinker. I don't drink at all, any alcohol. So when you don't drink, weddings are incredibly boring, you know. And you can spend no more than 50% of the time outside smoking joints. So it's like you're gonna be bored. I mean, the most important thing is it's a matter of honesty, right? And telling the truth and not accepting inadequately resolved matters going forward. Yeah, well, I mean, Rachel's psychologist or whatever was Janet was a complete fucking nightmare. Colluded with Rachel's mom to create this sort of behaviorist treatment of her, like, you know, and but the thing is, I got my justice from them. I had this phone call where I called Mercy Medical Center, where I put them on blast and had them read her chart to me and said, do you have a consent form for that? And they didn't. And had them fucking Rachel says they were all running around the opposite, like chickens with their fucking heads cut off, as they should have been. And then I reported them to the New York State, the relevant New York State authority. So I had my justice there. So I don't roll around being mad at Janet all night long because she got her fucking just due. I mean, I was more ready for this wedding than I've been for any wedding ever. Like because this wedding was a big opportunity for Rachel and to establish a new baseline, right? Now she's healthy again. She's no longer being forced to endure years and years of the wrong treatment. So she's healthy now, and she's well, mentally well. And her family has been more or less assassinating her character for years among the family as at whole by misrepresenting her problem as one linked to marijuana. So that's a wrong paradigm that needed to be fixed. Uncle Paul hadn't gotten the news yet because he was outside smoking pot. And when Rachel and I come out to smoke, all of a sudden he doesn't want to smoke anymore and won't touch my weed at all. He didn't get the message yet. He didn't get the memo about how he needs to adjust his paradigm, feel guilty. Quite a few, well, not the wedding party, quite a few of Rachel's more immediate family. In other words, Rachel's mom's brothers and not her sister, but it's like that's where the aunts and uncles comes from and the cousins is. Rachel's mom is one of 4 or 5 or something. Look, I have nothing to say about Rachel's parents' relationship with each other. Your assessment may or may not be correct. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter because that's not my problem. It's like, that's not my problem. I'm not married to either Rachel's mom or dad, so I don't need to worry about how they engage with each other. I mean, the vast majority of Rachel's extended family is great and treated her great. And they're wonderful people. I have no problem with them at all. Well, because of all these cousins, I guess a substantial chunk of the family sort of relocated to Indiana. A lot of Indiana University grads. And Kelsey and the groom, whose name escapes me at the moment, were great. They seemed like really great, high achieving, interesting, healthy, fun people. All the groomsmen and bridesmaids and stuff, they all seemed like that. They all seemed like wonderful, great, happy, healthy people. I mean, it was so. Living in LA is very different than living in the middle of the country. Okay, I am not accustomed to big groups of stereotypical white people. It's like they're great, they're super nice and everything, but I'm kind of like, oh my god, do these people actually exist? Like, they're so middle America. It's fantastic. It's beautiful the way that they are and everything. There's nothing wrong with them at all, but it's just so strange from my perspective, come from LA, where it just every family is a mishmash of different people. It's like there aren't. Well, I mean, okay, the Chinese families are all Chinese, but like even the Chinese families, there's usually a white son-in-law in there, or a black son-in-law, or a Mexican or something. It's like I'm just so unaccustomed to seeing such homogeny, both sort of culturally and visibly. It was a little bit shocking to the system. But yeah, as far as Indianapolis was fantastic. it was a free, relaxed, comfortable, social atmosphere where people, all the different people in the city, were able to engage normally with each other and healthily. And it really drives home just how damaging masks are to the fabric of society. You come back here and there's this oppressive pall hanging over the city, you know? But I love Indianapolis. It's a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous city. I got so many good pictures, and it's got an insane amount of monuments. Like it, who would think any city would have so many monuments? It's downright monumental. Yeah, I was born in LA, and I spent 2.5 years in Northern California after being born. So I was born here, lived here a month or something, went to Northern California for 2.5 years, then came back to LA, and I've been in LA ever since. Except for college. I was in Santa Cruz in college. I like LA. I don't have any problem with LA. I have a problem with COVID alarmism, you know. And LA is guilty of a lot of COVID alarmism. Maybe not as much as San Francisco. I don't know. The thing that's so frustrating about it is, at this point, the COVID alarmism isn't even representing any particular cognitive function bias, and it's offending them all. And yet it persists anyway. You know, it's like, at first, when everybody's on board with the notion that this crazy idea that if you don't lock yourself in your house, you're killing people. You have to stay home to save lives. At first, when everybody's on board with this, at least it's pleasing all the FI people. At least it's doing that, right? But now, like, it's serving nobody's interests at all. It's just this fucking awful, destructive, irrational health theater that's just ripping at the fabric of society for no purpose whatsoever. I mean, the thing is, there's not any possible way to reasonably dispute that people wearing masks all the time lowers disease contagion vectors. Of course it does. Of course it lowers disease contagion vectors. Yeah, it's a way to bypass the way humanity has dealt with disease contagion vectors for its entire history, namely with our immune systems. But, of course, we also have to think about how people actually use them, not just in an ideal world. So in an ideal world where people all agreed to and followed the same mask protocols, then they would, in fact, reduce disease contagion vectors. Would that be a good thing? Well, at that point, you have to calculate the total cost and benefits if you're going to make a utilitarian claim and a utilitarian calculus. And that includes all of them, not just disease vector outcomes. But if instead it's like it is, where you've got to wear a mask to go into the store to buy cigarettes, but you've got to wear a mask to go into the restaurant to sit down at the table, at which point you can take it off once you get your food. Okay, now we're just being insanely stupid, right? Well, no, it reduces the vectors by one, right? So in other words, airborne contagion is one vector of disease contagion. So it reduces the vectors. I mean, I don't know. It hasn't forced it on Indiana anymore. Indiana is free. And you got to give it credit for that, you know? Sometimes that freedom's annoying. At 3:30 in the morning, there are no noise ordinances in Indianapolis. They take seriously their commitment to loud engines, and so it's the noisescape is a dumpster fire, and that's part of what comes along with liberty too. So it's like, but even so, I'd prefer that. I prefer that over the alternative. I wouldn't live in Indianapolis probably because of that, though. The thing is, there's an incredible amount of people riding motorcycles that are both super loud motorcycles and that have incredibly loud sound systems, bumping whatever kind of music they're into, be it country, R&B, rap, whatever you hear, all different kind of music. But this is a thing in Indianapolis where people like to, this is how you show how pimping you are in Indianapolis is you get a really super loud motorcycle with a super loud sound system and you go riding around in the middle of the fucking night bumping your R&B or whatever. And I ended up taking the video down because I kept getting racist comments about it. But there was this one where a video I put up called Biker Initiates Instant 3:30 a.m. Monday Morning Street Rave or something like that. This big dude on a bike was riding by, and there were all these girls who were in this other car nearby and on these scooters, and he rode by them, and they're like, hey, come back here. And he went back there, and he just was bumping his R&B, and all the girls were dancing. And then one of them got on the back of his bike and rode off with him. And then, it's like, what? It's 3:30 in the morning on Monday morning. So in other words, it's 3:30 in the morning on Sunday night going into Monday morning, right? Exactly. Just let me get sick. It's like, why? It really sucks ass that I can't publish a video of something crazy, and if it happens to feature dark-skinned people, that people make all these fucking comments about culture or race or something. It's like, if they had been light-skinned people, I could have successfully posted that funny video. How fucking annoying is that? But let me tell you something I learned yesterday. You should always, I've learned this many times before, you should always take your phone with you. Because yesterday I missed the most perfect opportunity for the most perfect 15-second short that ever would have been. I was driving down Golden West, and there was actually a fire in Arcadia, which is always shocking when you see an actual fire, because I think, what the fuck do the firemen do all day? There are no fires. What do? They go drive their fire trucks to when some old lady falls down. But anyway, there was an actual fire. So there's a lot of fire trucks and police cars and stuff, right? And a lot of looky-loos. And this is Arcadia, so this is very strange. And I was driving down, I was looking at it too, and this is interesting. There's a fire. And then I spotted right in the middle of the road, walking right towards me as I'm driving slowly down the road, there's a chicken. And it's just walking down the middle of the road towards all this police action and shit like that. Man, if I could have just pulled over and pulled out my phone, taking 15 seconds of this chicken walking towards the fire stuff, it would have just been just the most beautiful piece of art. The lighting was great. It was like sunset. It would have been the most beautiful piece of art ever. And I didn't have my phone with me. Because I was just going to pick up the pizza that I ordered for pickup at Papa John's. And I was thinking, why do I need to take my phone? Because you might see a chicken going to investigate a fire scene. That's why. There are no chickens in Arcadia. Let me make this clear. This is not a town where people have chickens. To be precise, I think it was a rooster. It looked like a rooster, but some chickens do look more like roosters than others. Well, missed opportunity, you know. I don't say how racist everyone is. I was surprised. I mean, most comments weren't, you know. I was surprised that I got, but it's like, okay, this makes me feel icky. It's like, I don't want to be feeding people who are being groupist. I generally assume everybody's not racist. It's always surprising to me. It's like I think people make way too big of a deal of racism, and they just like make it more. They make it powerful by talking about it so much, you know. But occasionally I actually encounter it, and I go, "Are you fucking kidding me?" God, it's like I get that people think all kinds of stupid shit, but it's like at least try to aim for like level 3 stupid or something. I agree it's okay for people to have biases. I've always said that. Just because somebody's racist doesn't mean we should condemn them. You know, the person who's condemning the racist person is almost certainly believes something even more offensive than the person they're condemning. So I've always said that we shouldn't condemn people for being racist. I'm not condemning those people. I'm just lamenting the fact that I can't put up something funny with black people in it without it making me feel icky because of the way people respond to it. Some people. It's annoying. You know? I'm not it's not a big deal for me. It's just annoying. I don't really care. You know? It's not like what the thing that I started talking about, which I do really care about, you know. It's just annoying. See, that's SI. I'm an SI person. What really makes me mad, I need to experience it somehow. You know. Like, I really started getting mad about Taiwan when around the time when I realized that a lot of these students from China actually thought China's position on the matter was correct. You know, it's like when I was teaching debate on the topic and getting pushback from these students from China, I was like, oh, whoa, hold on. Okay. You've actually been formally indoctrinated here. You've not been educated, you've been indoctrinated. This is not acceptable. You know. SI, I'll accept. White privilege, I won't. Because that implies that that I've not been subject to oppression. I've been absolutely subject to oppression. So I understand what oppression is. We all have been subject to it. Every single one of us. So nobody gets exclusive claim to that. Now, it is true that I haven't been subject to oppression on that vector, but it's also true that that vector is nothing special. So fuck off, right? That's not white privilege. That's maybe SI. That's SI correctness. Your vector of oppression is not special. Sorry. No, that girl was a Chinese citizen, Chinese national. That girl was a Chinese national, but I don't know the answer to that question in general. It's not something I think to ask or wonder about, really. But I do know that girl was a Chinese national because she didn't come till she was 13 or 11 or 12 or something like that. So my daughter is an ESTP. And interestingly, just like everybody else in the world, it seems this is my family, happens to my family too. My FI polar didn't really think about it, but I guess she was somewhat hurt or affected by my informing her that I was wrong. She wasn't an ENTP, she was an ESTP, and that she kind of feels sad about that somehow. And so it's like, okay, there's something wrong in typology where she feels like she lost some status from being an ENTP to an ESTP. There's something terribly wrong going on here. I regret that I had mistyped her at first, but it took me a long time. It took me a long time with a lot of SI to figure this shit out. It's like I have to experience it in lots of different ways. And SI is a bitch. SI is a slow, labor-intensive way of knowing. Both SI and NI are both prone to their own kinds of wrongness, One kind of wrongness that SI is prone to is to dismissing the legitimacy of things they haven't experienced at all. So when Rachel told me at first that she was bipolar mania, I just dismissed that as not really a thing. Well, I'm sure that's just bullshit. Well, why are you sure that's just bullshit, Eric? Because you're SI. That's why. I mean, that's what I try to explain to Delilah, too. She's got a lot of advantages over me. She's got a lot of advantages, But the weird thing is, for most people, they just hear that as you're not intuitive. It's like, no, I'm not saying you're not intuitive. I'm saying you're not an intuitive. And you should be glad you're not an intuitive, because we struggle so hard to I mean, the whole point about white privilege is what's wrong with it is that it represents a fallacy that could be expressed along any vector of oppression. So, the reason that it's wrong to use the term or to ever think that such a thing exists is because the only mechanism that is served by the term is fallacious, namely to exclude someone's arguments as not valid because of who they are rather than what those arguments say. That's never acceptable. I will concede SI privilege, though. Okay. I think that SI privilege is in fact a thing that I have. I'm happy I have it. And I agree that it's a thing. SI privilege is ignorance is bliss. You know? If I don't experience it, it doesn't happen. It's sweet and juicy, like the flavor of a summer peach from the orchards of California. I'm going to refill my coffee now, okay? And the thing is, accusing someone of SI privilege is a fair argument. It's saying, you're just not accounting for what I'm saying because you haven't experienced it. That's a fair critique to make. Unlike, you're just not accounting for what I'm saying because of your color of your skin, which is not a fair critique to make. Correct. It is correct that it's a form of ad hominem, but it actually has its own specific name that I don't recall at the moment. But yeah, it's a form of ad hominem. There's a lot of specific fallacy names to distinguish between variants of the same basic kind of fallacy. For example, if you say, well, we shouldn't do that because that's what the Nazis did, you're guilty of a genetic fallacy, which is really just a form of, well, I guess ad hominem is a form of genetic fallacy. A genetic fallacy is anything that links a critique of an argument to identity of the party making the argument rather than to the content of the argument itself. Well, Nacho Business, the most interesting, no, I drink it with a lot of powdered non-dairy creamer, specifically powdered, Artie. The best coffee, I recommend this to everybody in the world. Listen to me. Listen to my wise words right now very carefully. You get your non-dairy creamer. Ideally, get Coffee Mate brand. It's a little more expensive, but it's better tasting than the generic. Right now, I've got generic coffee creamer here. You want to put in at least 15 times as much as it suggests. So, I mean, just literally go, just squirt a whole shit ton of the stuff in there. More than you think, okay? And then put in a little bit more. It's like firewood. Your pile should be 5 times as big as you think it should. Anyway, then you add your coffee and you stir it all up, and you will have the most delicious frothy and warm beverage that you've ever tasted. Okay. So basically, the problem with non-dairy creamer is the packaging lies. If the packaging tells you put 1 tablespoon in or whatever, put 15 tablespoons in. Anyway, no sugar. No. You don't need sugar if you have enough non-dairy creamer. So, okay, now back to the question of at NISE, how do they remember things? The best example I have from recently is the conversation with my dad and Rachel about the Hawaii trip. My dad said, you know what moment I remember from the trip? He and I happen to remember exactly the same moment, and it was an actual moment. It was a moment where we were all sitting at the McDonald's on the way back from the volcano. The sun was setting. It was a super old school McDonald's. People were coming in and out. A moment stretching, over the course of 5 minutes or so, right? Rachel's answer to the question, when I asked her initially what was her favorite moment or most memorable moment of Hawaii, was the changing weather. Now, that is not a moment, okay? By any reasonable definition of moment, that does not qualify as a moment. So how do NI people remember stuff? They remember sort of takeaways like that, I guess. I mean, I don't know what it feels like, because if I did, it would be SI. But I'm sure they have their own understanding of memories that's like somewhat different than an SI understanding. So that's why Rachel's favorite moment is the changing weather. I actually got a brief chance to talk to the family at the wedding and ask them some SINI questions, a couple of SINI questions, just trying to sort of start a conversation about different ways of knowing. And yeah, the thing that's weird is I feel as though I have a pretty robust relationship with NI, and yet I am definitely conscious SI. There's just no disputing that. It's like the way I consciously understand things, the way I know things and such, I have to link to my experience in some way. And yet I frequently demonstrate NI in my conclusions and my words and whatever, but that's me being a subject, not me being an agent, you know? They say 12 chips is a serving. Well, the thing is, that's less of a crime than the non-dairy creamer people, if you ask me. Because non-dairy creamer, its job is to creamify your coffee, right? And the instructions are telling you this is how much you should put in to creamify your coffee. Those instructions are lying. Serving, on the other hand, is more of an arbitrary taxonomy. You can get away with saying we're going to define a serving as 12 chips, but you can't get away with saying you can successfully cream your coffee with one spoonful. You can't. You're never going to have successfully creamed coffee with one spoonful, no matter how small your cup of coffee. If you only have this much coffee. Oh, you hear that? That's the other half of that. It starts here, and then it comes out here. Is your SI like shooting from the hip, and your NI is like pulling the gun from behind your back and belt? My NI is like, hey, who was that mysterious helper who shot that guy in front of me? Where did they go? I know somebody helped me. Okay, well then, I need hope. Then okay, if you're a good lawyer for the coffee creamer company, I wonder if you could sue them for misleading instructions. I want damages for pain and suffering of years of using too little coffee creamer. I'm in a good mood now that I talked out why I was so mad. See, it's like I was tossing and turning in bed. I was feeling so mad, and I kept thinking about how mad I was. And then I needed to come onto the internet and talk about why I was mad, and then I feel better. This is how it works. That's how life works for me. Yeah, she hit the vape plenty. We had to end up throw away. No, I'm not litigious at all. I am not at all litigious. I have only ever threatened to sue one time, and I got $5,000 without having to sue. And that was when the police officer violated my First Amendment rights, because that's a moral issue that needed to be addressed. I might get into drinking coffee to feel good. It's your NI takeaway from this video. I mean, the coffee definitely helps. Not because of the caffeine or whatever, although that might help some. But oh, no, Rachel didn't really like DMT. She didn't like it. Your dad made Church's Chicken pay him $500 for running into their drive-through pole. I wouldn't do that. There's no way in hell I would do that. This is the thing. It's like people told me at the time about the cop that I could get more money than that. But my explanation was, but I don't deserve more money than that. I didn't take more than $5,000 worth of damages. In other words, what I really wanted, if I hadn't needed the $5,000, I didn't want them to pay me $5,000. I didn't want the city to pay me anything. I wanted to use the instance to establish case law that, in fact, this was a perfect bullet, a perfect narrow bullet of a situation that met all the criteria the Supreme Court had set out for making the individual officer liable rather than the city. And in my opinion, it's terrible that cities pay these damages rather than the individual police officers who are guilty of them. It's removing responsibility from the right person and putting it onto the wrong people, namely the taxpayers. So that's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, it's like right around the time that I had the meeting with the city and everything, I really needed about $5,000. Rent was due. I had a couple things in the mix. I needed $5,000. And so I just ended up taking the money, and I feel like a bit of a slime bag for it because it was a great opportunity to fix a existing wrongness in case law. What is NI like for NI users in real time? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, but here's an example of NI not kicking in for me, which is I told this story on a video the other day, but so Rachel's sister Kat had sent a text talking shit about her mom. She had meant to send it to somebody else, maybe to her brother, maybe to I don't know who, but she accidentally sent it to her mom, and then her mom didn't go to the thing on Friday night, saying she had a headache. And at some point later, Rachel sort of lamented that her mom had said that. And I was like, well, what? So maybe she had a headache, you know? She said, no, it's because of that text my sister sent. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, right? It's like that. I don't necessarily put two and two together. Whereas Rachel seems to be unable to not put two and two together. I mean, that's the thing about NI as well, is that it can really trap you with its truths. So, like, Rachel has to be very careful about what she says because she almost always says the truth. And if she says a truth that's painful for me, she's not going to be able to backpedal from it. In other words, she's not going to say, I didn't really mean that, or that's not really true. That's the struggle for an INFJ, is they can't backpedal. That's ignoring NE, right? Well, maybe they know what shit means, and that's all there is to it. The NE person will go, well, maybe I can frame it like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, or like this. But NI people, NI DOMs, they have trouble backpedaling because they already have the right answer, right? Or the best answer. Not necessarily the right one, but the best one. Based on the available stuff, right? So one of the problems with NI is it'll give you the best answer even if you don't have enough stuff to get a good answer sometimes. And that's another one of the shortcomings of NI is that when you recognize patterns that well, sometimes you'll over-recognize patterns. Now, NI tool is more guilty of that than NI dom is. Just as, like, I am much more likely to make the mistake of thinking that everything's a binary that can be logically parsed than an INTP is. Because my tool function is linked to polar, and that's why it's like, it's the thing you overdo at the expense of something else. So NI tool is more likely to jump to broad, kind of overreaching conclusions than NI DOMs are. And like any tool, INFP, INTP, they countervalue NI because they don't like any final decisive things that prevent them from using their tool function further. All right, there, I've peed. You were worried about my bladder. I don't blame you. I can reassure you all it's fine. Right. Sometimes you can answer with minimal letters aided by the context given. However, that means you're also very much subject to red herrings, right? Like if well, I'm reminded of the South Park episode where Randy is on Wheel of Fortune. That's an example of NI trumping FE, I guess. What is it like to try DMT? It's like doing a psychedelic drug. That's the best way I could describe it. It's like psychedelics, but it's not really as like it's not as taxing as like acid or something because it doesn't last that long. It lasts like an hour, maybe 45 minutes total. And you peak fairly early and slowly come down. Yeah. Those damn naggers. Yeah, Jeremiah Fix has nailed it there. Eric's experience concludes you have to ingest a truckload before you get to meet the tripping balls elves. Did it make you sick? No, it didn't make me sick. I think the bride and groom are going to be great in 5 years. I think they're a good couple. I think they're a great match for each other. I think I didn't really talk to him enough to type him. The groom definitely is FE. Possibly ESFJ, possibly ESTP. I'm not sure, but they're both have a lot going on. It's like there was a speech made where Kelsey's life was sort of articulated by her mom and how they had a big fight when Kelsey was 17 about whether she could go skydiving or not. And the mom refused to sign the consent form. And, it's like, it's this cascade of SE craziness, walking the Great Wall of China, all this kind of stuff. So, and the guy is very like high achieving kind of alpha, not alpha male, but like a type A personality, I guess you'd say. As they say, there was type A and type B personality types. I don't know if they still use that anymore or not, but so yeah, they seem like a great couple. I'm sure they're gonna have a lot of fun together, and good for them. I'm super happy for them. The bride's name was Kelsey. I forget what the groom's name is at the moment, but yeah, and they got married at the right time. You know, they're like 27, 28, 25, 26, something in there, and they've got all their friends, and they want to have the biggest party that everyone's gonna remember their whole life. And you know, they really pulled off a beautiful, well put together wedding, and it was great. You know, I enjoyed myself the whole time in Indianapolis, right up until the beginning of the trip home. From the get-go, the trip home was just comically awful. From the Lyft ride to the okay, I want to ask him. I want to talk about airlines a little bit. All right. First of all, the place where we're gonna deplane from, why did you land closer to there? Why do you land way the fuck over here and then taxi for 20 minutes to the place we get off the plane from? Try landing close to the place that we're going to get off the plane, for fuck's sake. Second of all, if you're going to get us off the plane at Terminal 2, then have our baggage come out the baggage claim at Terminal 2. Don't then make us get on a bus to go from Terminal 2 to Terminal 1 to get our fucking bags. I mean, I spent 15 minutes driving in the plane. Then I spent 15 minutes driving in the bus, waiting for the bus. Then I spent 15 minutes driving in the bus. Why am I riding a bus? I bought a plane ticket. I'm sure they have their reasons, Han. Yeah, I'm sure they do. My point is, I don't like it. We were 44 minutes late on Monday, were we? The plane wasn't delayed. I mean, the thing is, we got there a little later to the airport than we should have, and this is one of the many things that was annoying about this trip. So apparently, Allegiant Airlines, 45 minutes before the flight takes off, stopped checking bags at the front counter and send all their people to the back. So we had to take even though we had purchased ahead of time checked bags, we had to go through the TSA thing. Of course, they always like to examine my bag because I got a bunch of stuff in there, like microphones and cables and shit like that. So then, but the thing is, I had to open my luggage to get out my laptop and put it in a separate thing and all that kind of shit they do, right? And I said to the guy, "You want me to just leave it open?" And he's like, no, shit'll fall out of it. So I close it back up, and it goes in the thing. The two people who are looking at the screen spend like 5 minutes looking at it. Just take it out and look inside of it. I don't give a fuck. Just come on. We're running late here, you know? I never had my temperature taken once. So yeah, it was a horrible trip back, but it's funny. It's like I didn't sleep at all the night before, and I sort of half slept on a plane most of the way. And then when I got back home, I was taking a nap. I woke up thinking we still had to take the plane back from Indianapolis, and I remembered. Oh, okay, yeah, we just already did that. That was awful. So I think what I'm going to do now is maybe play a song or two and then call it a day. Now that I'm not upset anymore, I feel back more like normal sleepy week. Well, some guy kind of started yelling at them when we were all waiting for the bus to go. Because of course we're outside, but at this bus, but you still can't smoke there. Yeah, it's about 45 minutes, depending on traffic. You know. When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you. And you'll want to know the way to get back at to wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. That was Matter of Moon. And next I'm going to play A Cloudy Day in Los Angeles. Then I'm going to play Puckatard Lemon Squeeze. And then I'll probably be done. There we go. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles, and today we run out of time. Struggles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Can someone buy us some more time? Cloudy day in Los Angeles, cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I've got something to say. Life can strangely be forgiving to those who stay awake all night. Mostly voices say to give in. They'll try to sap your will to fight. But whether I'm supposed to be here or just be soon forgotten noise, is sort of based on what I see here, but also on what I day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I've got something to say. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Struggles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Seems we bought us some more time. That was satisfying. It gives me goosebumps when I play a satisfying song. It's like ejaculating. It's very satisfying. It's like, oh, thank God that poisonous white goo is out of me. Poisonous white goo. Oh, well, he's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, the friendliest guy that you will see. Yes, he wants to be your friend, but he comes from around the bend, and it will be a while till he sees you again. Pucker tart, lemon squeeze, he's a friend to you and me. He's international delights, favorite go-to right-hand guy. He's international like him, and he is also busy like his friend, the beaver bee, busiest creature, busy as a bee, busy as a beaver, and so much busier than pucker tart, lemon squeeze. Well, he's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-da-ba-ba-doo-da. Pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. Yes, he's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-da-ba-ba-doo-da. Pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. And if you go to visit him for starts, remember to bring something sour or tart. He's not a fan of sugary treats because he's pucker tart and not pucker sweet. Well, he's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, the friendliest guy that you will see. Yes, he wants to be your friend, but he comes from around the bend, and it will be a while till he sees you again. He's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, he's a friend to you and me. He's international delights, favorite go-to right-hand guy. He's international like him, and he is also busy like his friend, the beaver bee, busiest creature, busy as a bee, busy as a beaver, and so much busier than pucker tart, lemon squeeze. Well, he's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-da-ba-ba-doo-da. Pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. Yes, he's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-da-ba-ba-doo-da. Pucker tart, lemon squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. Pucker tart. Okay, well, I wouldn't say I did a great job of playing those songs, but that's probably because I'm not on speed. What can you do? You're not on speed, you're not on speed, Thanks, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate those who stuck around to listen to the songs. And have a great day, not forgetting to eat plenty of cheese.